Good day and welcome, learners. Today I am guiding us through KMO6 KTO2, which focuses on corporate governance and risk management. By the end of the session, you and I will have a shared, practical understanding of three areas. 1. The standards and principles that shape risk management in our context. 2. The principles, methods, and processes of corporate governance. 3. The risk management process from identification to monitoring and review. I will keep examples grounded in the manufacturing environment so that you can apply the ideas on the floor immediately. Let's begin. Now let's review everything that I intend for you to walk away with. I want you to be able to name the relevant international, national, and organizational standards we rely on. I want you to explain what good governance looks like for a production supervisor, and I want you to run a risk cycle end to end with a clear artifacts such as a risk register entry, a control, and a follow-up review note. With that destination set, I begin by anchoring us in the standards and principles that guide responsible risk management. It starts with the big picture. In South Africa, we align to a mix of international standards and national regulations, and we adapt these through organizational policies. At the international level 1 position, ISO 31000 as the global guideline for risk management. Its principles ask me to integrate risk into all processes, tailor it to our context, and foster an aware culture and keep improving. Locally, I align my governance lens to King 4, which emphasizes ethical leadership, effective control, and integrated reporting. Nationally, the Companies Act and sector rules such as the Financial Sector Regulational Act set the legal foundation and directors' duties. Operationally, many organizations draw an COSOERM to structure enterprise risk. Together, these give me the why and the how of the risk. I translate these principles into daily behavior. I embed risk thinking into shift handovers, maintenance planning, supplier approval, and changeovers. I involve the right stakeholders when we assess a hazard. I use the best information available, including production data and incident logs. I treat risk work as a dynamic. To keep my approach structured, I lean on a simple risk management framework. I set context, identify risks, analyze their likelihood and impact, evaluate them against criteria, decide on treatments, and then monitor and report. These steps create a repeatable rhythm for my team and a clear paper trail for audits and reviews. With the standards and framework in hand, I now connect governance, the way we direct and control the organization, to our role as production supervisors. When I say corporate governance, I mean the system by which the organization is directed and controlled to create value ethically and sustainably. I use King 4 as my compass, as it calls for ethical leadership, effective control, and integrated reporting. For me, that translates to doing the right thing, running tight controls, and telling a full story of performance across financial, social, and environmental dimensions. Accountability and responsibility. I take responsibility for outputs, costs, quality, safety, and compliance on my lines. I escalate issues early and I document decisions because governance rests on clear decision rights and an audit trail. Transparency. I ensure accurate and timely reporting. Downtime reasons, scrap rates, near misses, and corrective actions that are captured consistently because accurate information enables oversight and trust. Now let's take a look at fairness and stakeholder inclusivity. Consider suppliers, employees, customers, and the community when making decisions. This stakeholder mindset prevents short-term wins that create long-term harm. Internal control and risk. I maintain control such as approved work instructions, segregation of duties in stores, calibrated instruments, and walkthroughs. These align to the expectation for robust control and formal risk management. I make governance visible through policies, procedures, and forums. Policies set expectations, for example, conflicts of interest declarations. Procedures standardize work, for example, change control for equipment. And forums such as the SHEQ, risk, and budgeting meetings provide consistent oversight of performance and risk. While I do not sit on board, I feed accurate operational insights that inform higher level decisions, and I adhere to the same spirit of independence, competence, and fairness. With governance defined and grounded, I move to the risk management process that you and I will use on the floor step by step. Now, when it comes to risk management process, I treat risk as the effect of uncertainty on our objectives: safety, quality, delivery, cost, and morale. The process gives me a simple, teachable loop my team can run daily. Now let's take a look at communication and reporting. I keep stakeholders informed throughout the cycle. I provide concise risk summaries to the right forums, record decisions and owners in the risk register, and escalate promptly when ratings exceed tolerance. I also share lessons learned after incidents so knowledge spreads across shifts and areas. Clear communication and disciplined reporting make the process transparent and auditable. I treat risk as the effect of uncertainty on our objectives: safety, quality, delivery, cost, and morale. Now let's take a look at step 1, identify. I begin by setting context. I make the scope, objectives, and constraints explicit. I identify hazards and risks using shop floor walks, brainstorming, process maps, incident logs, supplier performance data, and change notices. I capture each risk as a cause, event, and impact statement. I log it in the risk register with an owner and a date. Once I have candidate risks, I move from listing to understanding. Step 2, analyze. For each risk, I assess likelihood and consequence or impact using a qualitative matrix or available data such as ppm defects, MTBF, DPMO, and TRIR. I consider existing controls. Preventative controls include approved supplier lists, poker yoke devices, and planned maintenance. Detective controls include SPC charts and layered process audits. Corrective controls include rework procedures and containment plans. The output is a current risk rating that reflects the strength of today's controls. With analysis complete, I prioritize what to act on first. Let's take a look. Now we have step 3, which is evaluate and rank. I compare each analyzed risk against our risk criteria. These criteria include legal requirements, customer commitments, and internal tolerances for safety, quality, cost, and delivery. I then rank the register so that the high exposure items get attention first. I decide whether a risk is acceptable as is or requires treatment. The ranking drives my action plan and resource requests. Now I choose the most effective way to treat the priority risks. Step 4, mitigate or treat. I select one or more strategies. Avoid the risk by stopping the risk activity. Reduce or treat the risk by using engineering controls, mistake proofing, training, and preventative maintenance. Transfer the risk using insurance or warranties. Accept the risk with clear justification and contingency plans. I write treatment plans with owners, due dates, and measures of effectiveness. I ensure the plan is practical, time-bound, and integrated with production schedules. After treatment, I make sure improvements stick and keep working. Now let's move on to step 5, which is monitor and review. I track leading and lagging indicators such as audit scores, near-miss trends, defect rates, downtime causes, supplier OTIF, and cost variances. I review where the controls are still effective and where the new risks have emerged. Date the register and report to the relevant forum such as the SHEQ or Risk Committee. Treat incident management as learning. I record root causes and update standards so that we improve over time. Now let's take a look at our worked example. 1. Context. We plan to increase output of a safety-critical sub-assembly by 20% next quarter. 2. Identify. A new supplier for the machine parts would introduce dimensional variation beyond specification. 3. Analyze. Likelihood is medium for the first 3 deliveries. Impact is high due to scrap, rework, and potential field failure. Current controls include PPAP Level 3, GR and GR completed for incoming and initial 100% incoming inspection. 4. Evaluate and rank. The risk is rated high due to impact and escalated to the monthly risk forum. 5. Treat. We strengthen APQP checkpoints, require CPK at least 1.67 for critical dimensions, add a containment plan for the first 2 lots, deploy an error-proofing jig at our line, and prepare a dual source if CPKA is not met by week 6. 6. Monitor and review. We track incoming PPM and CPK trend weekly, review at SHEQ, and close the treatment when CPK is sustained and containment is removed. This example shows how governance, clear decision rights, documented controls, transparent reporting, and risk standards, structured process, and continuous review meet in one day-to-day supervision. Your summative questions ask you to identify and explain risk management standards, principles, frameworks, and processes, and to discuss corporate governance. In your answers, refer to ISO 31000 and King 4. Mention the company's act for the legal foundation and show that you can narrate the full risk process from identify through monitor and review. Structure your response with brief headings and one example like the supplier case we just walked through. Let us finish by recapping the journey and committing to the first steps on the shop floor. We have now reached the end of our session. Today we built a practical map of corporate governance and risk management. We located ourselves in the standards such as ISO 31000 and King 4, and the laws such as the Companies Act and the FSRA, and we translated those into principles and methods we can apply. Accountability, transparency, stakeholder inclusivity, and robust internal control. We then executed the risk process end to end. Identify, analyze, evaluate, treat, and monitor and review. Thank you for your participation and attention in today's session, learners. I will see you at the next session.